Good.
Livi, Nishmat, Devorah, bat Chanukah. One of the things that's a defining trait of Madarjoon that's been discussed this entire week is how much she loved hosting family. Her biggest joy in life was just having people around. From when I was born until the last breath she took, all she wanted was her family to be around her. And after so many years and so many khoshis and so many good times, it's easy for us to forget just how many good memories we have in her home. So I want to spend just a few minutes to reminisce with everyone here and take a journey back and just list out as many good memories I could think of. And I think it'll be biased towards my experiences, but I'm sure for the ladies and for the younger generations, it's going to ring true for everyone. Just how much fun we've had because of Madarjoon. So we go back all the way to Queens, Kew Gardens, and this is slightly before my time, but I asked the ladies of the family and they filled me in on some of their experiences in Park Lane South, apartment 20K. The apartment with a huge open air terrace. They were telling me that they recall sleeping on the floor in her den and Madarjoon coming and saying stories to them as they drifted off to sleep. They remember Baba Hajmeti and Madarjoon putting out a little kiddie pool on the terrace, and they would go swim. Madarjoon would sit and enjoy their presence. Baba would water his plants on the side. And interesting fact about when we lived in Queens, most community members didn't have their own personal sukkot. There was a communal sukkah in Sharei Tova that most people would use because they were in apartments. And Madarjoon was one of the first Mashadis to get her own sukkah. And she put it on the terrace because it was open to the sky, so she was able to get one. And they were telling me how proud she was of having her own sukkah, and she would invite the whole community over to celebrate Sukkot with her. And she would always say, because it was on the 20th floor, she was so proud that she had the highest sukkah in all of Queens. And even back then, you could see how much joy celebrating the Chagim brought her. As the community shifted to Great Neck, her husband and her amazing children were able to buy this piece of land and start building a home that she would grow to love so much. And as Daniel mentioned today, and as my dad explained last night, she was involved in every aspect of construction because she had one goal in mind with her new home was to host family, have family over. As Daniel mentioned, the living room and dining room are connected so that she could extend the table all the way to the back. The big kitchen with the big island is there so she could prepare food for dozens of family members, and there would be enough space for everything. And the first thing she did when the house was done was host one of the most amazing, memorable parties that people still talk about today. My dad was saying that right before construction was completed, she didn't have her CFO yet, the certificate of occupancy, and she knew my mother was coming due with her fourth baby. And she went to Nozar, the builder, and she said, Nozar, I need this house done before she gives birth, because she wanted to host the khoshis in her home. And she pushed Nozar, he went to the village, and he pushed the village, and they got her a temporary CFO. So she was able to have this house ready for the khoshis. And a few weeks later, I was born, and Madarjoon hosted on Shabbat Chol HaMoed Pesach a memorable Chat Nesuri, a Brit Milah for me. And it was really the grandest welcome I could have had to the world. And 28 years later, people come to me in Canisa still today, and they say, Tonaveya of Hajmeti Levi, you're the grandson of Hajmeti Levi and Soraya Levi. I say, yeah, Bale, yes. And they say, Man Chat Nesuri Yadene. I remember your Brit Milah. Even 28 years later, people are still talking about how Madarjoon hosted a crowd in her home. In the new house, as we grew up, the boys, my generation of her grandchildren, we had very similar experiences to the girls in 20K. I always remember walking in and Madarjoon would be sitting on that white chair by the kitchen island with her sidurim open in front of her, and she would cheer in excitement when we would walk in. And I remember until 2006, we would walk in, turn into the den, Bubba was sitting on that first seat in the couch, and he would give us those signature little pecks on the cheek that we all miss so much. We had sleepovers, we would sleep in the upstairs den, we would play Golden Axe on the Sega, Sonic, and Madarjoon would come out every time we were there. She just wanted to be around us. She would come out in her pajama gown, she would sit on that white couch, and she would put on her massive glasses, and she would read Kriyat Shema while we just played in front of her. And that was really her biggest joy in life. We would go to the backyard, we would play our brick wall baseball game. Even the girls would join us. I remember Ven used to join us and we would make fun of her being a lefty. And that's actually how I found out she was a lefty. And they would put out a pool like they did in Park Lane South. We would swim in the pool. Mikey was telling me how he would help Bubba with the hose, and they would water the plants in the backyard by the deck together. When it snowed, the first thought we had was, let's go to Madarjoon's. Let's go to Madarjoon's deck. And we'd all come, cousins, we'd build snowmen, and we would leave them there. And on Shabbats, we would say, oh, look at that snowman, look at the carrot. And these were just the best memories for us as kids. And I'll never forget, as time went on, every time I would come here, Madarjoon was always sitting in the den, and she was always watching one show. It was a Persian show, you might remember it. You remember what it was called? Yosef Zolecha. It was a story of Yosef and Potiphar's wife. And it was just her favorite Persian show. It was a story of the Tanakh, and she was so excited to watch it. And I think she watched it maybe 200 times. And I remember I used to go to my rabbis in school because Potiphar's wife isn't named in the Torah. And I'll go to the rabbi and I'll say, do you know the name of Potiphar's wife? And they'll say, no, it's not in the Torah. A lot of them don't even know the name. And I'll think to myself, Madarjoon knew her name. Madarjoon knew her name. Her name was Zolecha. And I knew that because of Madarjoon. Of course, the most fond memories, I think we can all agree, were just those gatherings on Shabbatot and Chagim here. Every time my mom would say, we're at Madarjoon's this Shabbat, I would light up in excitement. Madarjoon's house became synonymous with just fun. And we would do anything it takes to get here, even if it meant sitting in a walker, getting thrown on the streets. We would find a way to get here on Shabbat. I remember coming here with the cousins, we'd play ping pong downstairs. Our dads would join. Our dads were pretty good ping pong players. And even sometimes Alzheimer Lawrence would come down and teach us how it was done.
He was the best.
The best. I'll never forget, right here in this room, the Shesh Besh battles, Amu Hebert versus Alzheimer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Sitting, and I always remember, inevitably, Alzheimer Lawrence would do some unconventional move, and he would win. And later on in his life, when he couldn't speak so much, I remember Amu Hebert would be grumbling that he lost again, and you would see that big smirk form on Alzheimer Lawrence's face that he got him again. The women of the house, God bless them all, they would run the kitchen on Shabbatot like a manufacturing plant. It was a crazy operation that it was really a sight to see. And it was all managed by Madarjoon. She was like the CEO of this amazing production line. And she would make sure there was enough food for all of us. I was always scared the tables were going to collapse by just how much food she would put on those 3 tables she set up here. There was enough food for all of Shabbat, there was enough food for leftovers for everyone. And I'll never forget, every time a new domad or arus would come, if you remember, she would, right before they'd open the door, she would run, get her little dombak, Daria thing, and she would play the Daria as they walked in, and she would sing and would dance for the family growing once again. Then comes Sukkot. Every year it became a tradition of me and the cousins, we would come together. Actually, she insisted that we build the sukkah. Not because it was financially better for her. I think she lost a lot of money on us, actually. Because she could have hired someone to do it for very cheap, but we would all leave her house with $100 each. A 10-year-old boy, $100 is like you're a millionaire. And she was so excited to have us. She would get us all food. And this tradition lived on until she really couldn't host anymore, except for that one year Jasmine had other plans. But otherwise, it was a strict tradition that we, the cousins, build the sukkah. And I must say, the tradition of building the sukkah for parents, it's not something that's, it's common, but it's not universal among the Mashadi community. A lot of people it's a chore, and they hire someone to do it. But Madarjoon made something that was a chore. She made it fun for us. And to this day, me, Dale, and John, it's a tradition that we go to my dad's house, we bring our kids, and we build his sukkah. Because it's something we learned from Madarjoon to do. And it's an amazing thing, because it brings joy to the mitzvot. Eventually the gatherings on Sukkot got so big that we had to extend the sukkah 10 feet. A very unconventional sukkah setup, but we managed, and we managed to squeeze the whole family in there. And I always remember on Sukkot especially, the trays of food were always a quarter eaten by the time we got to dinner. I think it was the domads. I think it was John, maybe Jay. who had no hustle to wait for everyone. They just start pecking at the food. And I always remember there was always a piece of popper just missing from the tray. And I think the best holiday of all for all of us was Pesach, of course. The room packed to the brim, the fondest memories. We could start with Pam and Shar's halachmania. Can't forget it. The best. Me and Mikey, we took that job when Pam moved to Israel, and we moved on.
Shar became famous.
Right, Shar got a little too. It was a little too expensive to have Shar perform for us. I remember all of us would read the Haggadah that, of course, our uncle Amud Obert put together, the amazing Haggadah.
Oh, man.
And as we read, we would wait for Aaron and Sammy to finish their Kizayim. I remember we would, this is back in the day, we would go down with Pam and she would choreograph a skit. Yetziat Mitzrayim skit. And we'd come and we'd perform it for the adults. And I thinking back, the adults probably found it pretty annoying during dinner to watch a skit. But I always remember Madarjoon was always sitting there, ear to ear smile, just enjoying her grandchildren having fun in her home. And I always remember at the end of the Seder when we would drag out the Sheba Shamayim. That was probably a 1 hour long process until everyone was yelling at us to stop. But it was just another joy of Pesach that we all remember. Other Chagim and Choshis, it was I think a Rosh Hashanah where Amu Hebert offered Shar, I think it was $100 to eat a cow's tongue.
She was a vegetarian.
Oh, she was vegetarian, even better. And I think she accepted the offer, and she gagged and convulsed, and it was.
Until this day, was my biggest regret of life.
Biggest regret, and I must add, and if I recall correctly, Amu Hebert called it the best $100 he ever spent. Aside from the Chagim, we had, of course, many other Choshis here. We had John's engagement party here. We had Mikey's engagement party here. We had, I think, Sheva Brachot for basically every single one of us was in this house. And even at the end, when Madarjoon was nearing the end of her life, Purim, I'll never forget this. We all got together, me and the cousins, we all read portions of the Megillah together to complete it for her. And I went to her after we read the Megillah and I said, Madarjoon, Chosh Gozasht? She said, did you enjoy? And she said, Haz karda. Something that some people consider so boring. Sitting through the Megillah, it's something they want to get through it. They always tell me to read it faster, read it faster. She sat there, probably in pain, unable to talk so much. And it was just a joy of her life to have us there reading the Megillah for her. I think it's not an exhaustive list. I think we can go on for hours and hours. And these are just, they scratch the surface on the number of memories we have here together. And I think they shaped us in a deeper way than we understand. One of the praises she's been getting this week, Madarjoon, was that all her descendants keep Torah and mitzvot, and it's true, and it's an amazing thing. I think she deserves even bigger praise for how her descendants keep Torah and mitzvot. Because for a lot of people, Torah and mitzvot, it's a chore that they do it. Either their family did it and they do it because their family did it, they're sons of rabbis and they just have to, it's an obligation. But all of us, we keep Torah because we enjoy it. We keep the Chagim because we enjoy it. And we owe that to Madarjoon. She would have us over and she would make things that could have been chores. The Pesach Seder, it's a long text and it's hard to read. She made it literally the funnest night of the year for us. So we can only hope that we could learn from her and pass on this joy of keeping Torah and mitzvot to our children. And if we're even half as successful, I think we can all consider that life well lived. She really was amazing and just doing everything with happiness. And I'll end with this. I was scrolling through my YouTube videos last night and I came across a video of the construction process of this home. My dad had taken a video throughout the process when they were building it, and one scene stuck out to me when my mom was videoing Madarjoon, and she asked her, and she told her, I'll read the Persian. She said, Inshallah, she said, hopefully for 120 years you'll live in this home with Balahajmeti with happiness. And her answer, she thanked her and she said, Bashoma. She said, with you and with all my loved ones. And that really was Madarjoon in a nutshell. It was from first drop of cement that touched the foundation of this home until she took her last breath, all she wanted was to be around family, to have us with her. And I'm pretty certain if we were to go to her before she passed and we would ask her, Madarjoon, what would you consider the ideal way to end your amazing, long, successful life? I think her answer would have been exactly the same. Bashoma. Wahame Aziz Laham. All she wanted from day one until the day she passed was to be with us, and Baruch Hashem, that's what she got. She got an honorable end to a very honorable life. Her family around her, praying with her, thanking her, and sending her off with an amazing queen's departure from this world. So on behalf of all of us, Madarjoon, we want to thank you for the good times, for the amazing memories. We miss you, we love you, and we look forward to seeing you again. Baruch Le'amen.
Zak Baruch. השכבה?
המאחר הכל בלתו ויחוס ויחמול וירחם הנפש רוח הנשמה של האישה הכשרה שנפטרה בשעתו מן העולם, דבורה בת חנוכה.
דבורה בת חנוכה.
לך ולחמים והסליחות וכן יעשו ונאמר אמן.
Amen. We love you, Madarjoon.